like this mystical thing that, you know, if I just Mark 11, if any of you believes and says to this mountain, be removed and be cast into the sea, and doesn't doubt in his heart but believes that what he says happens, then that mountain will move. I'm sorry, but you can't take everything literally. Figuratively speaking. Because like I said the last time we got together before Brian was here, our role in the faith process is do something. Move. Make a move and do something. And how do we do that? We're going to hang out with one verse today. Romans 12, verse 1. And Paul's writing this letter to the church in Rome, and he says, now, all of you, present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, for this is your reasonable act of worship. Other translations say spiritual act of worship. Others say other things, but I like reasonable. Why do I like reasonable? Because it's telling us to do something that must be possible if it's telling us it's reasonable. And sometimes we have this tendency to go through life, oh, yes, take up my cross daily. And we can say these words, and we can move in this way and in this facet and say, I'm going to take up my cross. Do you realize what you're saying? Let's look at Christ on his way to die for you and me. I'm sorry, but by the time they were through, it was probably more like actually 40 lashes, but, you know, who's counting? Having his beard ripped out, punched, kicked, spat on, crown of thorns, the whole bit. Now, pick up your cross. Carry it up that hill. Put that picture in your head when we say take up your cross. We're called to a life of power, not a life of comfort. Because we get so wrapped up in being comfortable. My body is comfortable being overweight and out of shape. It's used to it by now. You know what's uncomfortable? Getting out of that and into where God created my body to be. Because sometimes we put all the pressure on God. Hey God, why don't you help me? God, why don't you heal me? Why don't you heal me of my Crohn's? Why don't you heal me of this? Why don't you heal me of that? Why don't you? Why don't you? Why don't you? And he goes, why don't you? Why don't you? Should you be drinking that sugary coffee drink if you have an inflammatory illness? Nope. Should you be eating that candy bar at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're 45 pounds overweight? Nope. Should you be eating a bag of chips instead of springing for a salad? Nope. Should you be out exercising, walking the dog, doing your push-ups, embracing the suck and getting it done, instead of sitting on the couch watching TV? Yup. But we put it all on God. God, why don't you? He said, hold on, wait a minute here. I gave you a body to use. Use it. Forget what you can't do. Okay? You can't go out and run a 5K. Guess what? Neither can I right now. That's my goal, though. I can't do push-ups. Neither can I. But I can do something. I can do modified push-ups. Maybe. I could do dumbbell presses on a bench. It's the same muscles. But you can do something. Oh, this hurts. Then do this instead. I've got a laundry list of exercises. You say, oh, I can't squat? Yeah, well, can you do a leg press? Can you do a leg extension, a leg curl? Yep, then do it. Until you work up the strength to do a squat. Because part of the challenge is getting our head out of the mindset that says, I can't do this. So that means if I can't do this, like if Pastor Chris says, okay, everybody do 40 push-ups every day before you leave the house. I can't do 40 push-ups. That means I can't do nothing. You can do something. I can do something. We can all do something. Hey, restrict simple carbohydrate intake after 3 p.m., meaning no white breads or pastas, rice, sweet potatoes, vegetables, fruits, and fruit and vegetable juices are your carbohydrate intake after 3 p.m. Is that really? Oh, I'm gonna die. Oh, it's gonna kill me. Oh, I'm gonna get down on my knees now. Just wait. No cake. No pie. No pie in the sky till I die. No. It's hard. But God calls us to a life of power, not a life of comfort. And when Paul says, present your bodies, he's not saying, present your body only if you're fully physically capable of doing everything that this program tells you to do. Present your body only if you're capable of running a 5K. All of us are disqualified. Ceremonial unclean. Don't eat it. Take another lap around the mountain. But we get it locked in our head that this is the prescribed exercise, or this is the prescribed way of eating, and I can't do that, so that means I can't follow this plan because it's hard. Nothing worth having comes easy. Nothing worth having comes easy. my days in boot camp and infantry school and all that, and all the 2-mile runs we had to do it under a certain time frame and so on and so forth. And they pushed you. And they trained you so that you knew what your body was actually capable of and more. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm asking you to tweak a few things here and there. I can't do 40 push-ups, okay? Can you do 20 dumbbell presses? I can't run a 5K, okay? Can you walk a mile? Start there. I can't even walk. Can you move at all? Can you lift your arms? Can you punch? Can you lift your legs up and down, maybe alternating from a seated position here, here, here? You got to start somewhere. And then you develop that. You work up the endurance to do more of that. And it's okay. Now, can you do a push-up? Well, now I can do a push-up, and I don't feel like I'm ripping my shoulder out of socket. Okay? I can do a sit-up. I can do a mile. Now let's work our way up. I have physical restrictions, okay? We can work within physical restrictions, but what I can't work with, what God can't work with, is excuses. Your excuses put limits on what God can do in and through you. Because God wants a strong spirit, soul, and body, all working together. My spirit, am I spending time in the Word? Even if it's just I read 2 or 3 verses and I focus on that 2 or 3 verses. Do I thank God even if I don't have a Smith Wigglesworth or a D.L. Moody spending 3 hours every day on my knees in prayer? Can I spend 3 minutes? In our spirit, we got to grow and develop that. That's a muscle just like anything else. You don't use it, you lose it. Our soul, our mind, will, and emotions. Am I bringing every thought under subjection? Am I casting down every thought and every imagination that tries to exalt itself up against the knowledge of God in my life? Every time something happens, is it the end of the world, or do I see it as a challenge to be overcome? Every time something doesn't go right, oh man, this sucks. Oh, this totally sucks, bro. Or, hey, bro, can you help me out here? Can we work through this thing? Can you give me some counsel and some advice on how to get through it? Or do we come up with an excuse? The reason this church doesn't grow is because people are stupid. I mean, think about it. Because nobody can get along. That's the reason this church doesn't grow. No, the reason this church doesn't grow is because we're not ready for growth. We're not primed for growth. We've got to get ourselves, at least somewhat, acting like leaders before we'll be ready for growth. And that starts with, in the soul level, the mind, the thoughts, the will, and the emotions. I'm not going to make an excuse for my shortcomings. I'm going to fight them. I'm going to become better. Through the power of the Holy Spirit working in and through me, I will be better. Then in our body. Like Steve's in the gym. I'm going to challenge the guys of the church, even if you're not in this church. Some of you will watch on YouTube at some point, and you'll be like, man, wish I could do what these guys are doing. Well, come on with it. You're welcome. You're welcome. And we'll support you. And we'll help you. But you got to be willing to work. You got to be willing to sweat. Got to be willing to shed some tears. Because the more in shape you get, the more out of shape you feel in some cases. Because you go from one thing, this thing was hard for me 6 months ago, now it's easy. Now I got to do something harder to keep the results coming. And then you get to where you're good at that. Oh man, now I got to do something different to keep the results coming. And then before you know it, you're in such good shape that you're running 5Ks. That you're walking 5Ks, 10Ks, and things of that nature. And now you start talking about, okay, now how can I cut down on my time? How can I develop an 8-minute mile instead of a 10-minute mile? How can I develop the ability to run 2 miles in 14 minutes instead of 18 to 20? But you got to be willing to say, you know what? I'm man enough to know that there's a lot of things that I know. But I'm also man enough to know that there's a lot of things I don't. So I got to bring people around me that know how to get me there. And then I got to be willing to swallow my own pride and say, okay, I'll do that. Because the Holy Spirit can only work with something that is, work with a vessel that is willing to be worked with. If you're not willing to be worked with, if you're not willing to push yourself, then the Holy Spirit's going to be like, he's a gentleman. He's not going to go where he's not welcome. So he's going to sit there, and he's going to wait. He's going to wait for you to make a move in that direction. And he'll be like, oh, is he doing something? Is he doing something? Okay, now I can get up, move around a little bit. Oh, he's handing out back in the day, a gospel tract to somebody? Okay. Yeah, you know. I used to love sitting and just reading those things. Yeah. Oh, this guy just spoke something into someone's life? Okay. Now I can give him something to say. Here you go, try this. And then you say that thing. He's like, okay, now I'm working with something here. But if you aren't following the cues, if you aren't taking the signals, then he's just going to sit there. And he'll wait. And then how are you going to feel if you refuse to move, but then this guy over here, he's like sprinting, and the Holy Spirit's using him like crazy, and you're still uncomfortable? Or the number one excuse that believers use, I don't feel led to do that. That's not my thing. Where in all reality, that's just an excuse for not doing something. Your thoughts, your will, and your emotions. Are you looking at things you have no business looking at? Are you listening to people you have no business listening to because they haven't earned the right to speak into your life? But you listen to them, and you take their words to heart, and then you get discouraged, and you get drugged down, and you feel like you can't, you're useless in the kingdom because you've got some issues. Who doesn't? Who doesn't have issues? I mean, Steve and James will sit there who will tell you all about our issues. Because, guys, the challenge that I have for the men is different from the challenge that I have for the ladies. For the men, at some point there will be at least a weekly workout that I want all the guys to get together and do together. We'll modify what we need to modify, but I want the guys to get together and do it together. Yeah, you know, some wing curls, mango habanero, no, saying no, saying no, saying no. But for the guys, sometimes we need the soft approach that our wives can give us, that our mothers can give us, that our significant or insignificant others can give us. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. And sometimes, guys, we need a brother that's willing to kick us in the nuts and say, let's go. Man up. Because our wives will support when we actually move. But if we're just sitting there doing the same thing, humdrum, boring life, not doing anything, not stepping out of our comfort zones at all, your wife's opinion of you is supposed to change? Let me know how that works out for you. Move. Make a move. When I say, hey guys, let's get together. Come over. We'll use my backyard and we'll train for a little bit. Make a move. When Susan ultimately says to the ladies, hey ladies, let's get together, let's go do something. Ladies, you will be watching on this video, and I'm telling you, make a move. Make a move. Because it's weird how guys, we bond over things like wings, sports, sweat, and tears. Ladies bond over things like nails, hair. My wife's a little bit different, so she's probably going to push the ladies a little further than they might be comfortable with. Make a move. I dare you. Guys, I man dare you. To make a move. With me. We do it together. Ladies, I dare you to make a move. I dare you. Back in the days when we were kids, I double dog dare you. Because when you are willing to push your physical body to do something that right now it may not be capable of, but 6 months from now, boom. A year from now, boom. 2 years from now, and then when you're, in my case, 45 pounds lighter, and you're running, looking like all those people that are out running and they say, oh, this is such a wonderful feeling, and they look like they're miserable and about to die, and you turn into one of those people? Awesome. When you're willing to push yourself out of a comfort zone and not make an excuse for the things that you can't do, but instead you say, okay, I know what I can't do, but what can I do? That's when you go places. That's when you get to the point where you're like, oh, right now I can't do that, so that's what I want to be able to do. Right now I can't run a 5K, that's what I want to be able to do. Right now I can't do 40 push-ups, right now, heck, I can't even do 20 push-ups, that's what I want to be able to do. And then we push. And we get uncomfortable. We embrace the suck and get it done. And then 6 months from now, hey, when we started, I couldn't do 5 push-ups. Now I can do 10. When we started this 6 months ago, I couldn't run a mile. I can do 2. Six months ago, I weighed 220 pounds. Now I weigh 180. Six months ago, I didn't have the courage to hand out a gospel tract to someone. Now I'm handing out 5 or 6 everywhere I go. I didn't have the guts to say anything to anyone. Now, I'm just a talking machine. I can talk to people. I can open up. I can make them feel my heart. I can make them see my desire for them to be better, and in the process of me becoming better. In the process of us becoming better. Because when you take moves, when a church takes moves in positive directions, like instead of donuts, bananas and oranges on Sunday mornings. When a church takes moves in positive directions, the guys start getting together and working out once or twice a week. the ladies start getting together and maybe doing some kind of a workout just for them once or twice a week. And then we get together as a group. September 10th, church picnic, David Brewer Park. We're going to have volleyball. We're going to have badminton, beanbag toss, the whole bit. Burgers. We got some burgers. We're going to have a cheat day. We're going to have a feast that day. And we want everybody to feel welcome. Not just us four and no more. Us five, we ride until we die. Because I think people really don't understand it. We need each other more than we know. I need my wife more than I'm even aware of. I need my brothers. My physical brothers, Jonathan and Alex, Ben. I need you guys more than you know. My brothers by choice, James, John, Steve, Brian. We need each other more than we know. Ladies, you need each other more than you know. Not to use each other. Bad example, what Faith was talking to us about this morning. Not to use each other, but to pull each other alongside of us and say, let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's do this. Come on, let's go. Let's go, guys. One of the reasons that I call this an unconventional church is I'm not afraid to say this in church. Guys, come on. I'm the brother that'll kick you in the nuts and say, let's go. Quit being a mamby-pamby and let's dance. Get your foot in the game. I got you. But I'm also the guy that's gonna be like, hey, what's going on? What are you going through? And then Steve, James, Brian and Brian know that when we get together for these meetings that we have, what we say at that meeting pretty much stays there. Unless we say, hey, let's bring the wives into our little powwow. And Faith and Susan, and one of these days I believe that Mandy's going to be able to show up. Mandy, I know you can hear me. One of these days you will be able to show up. John, one of these days you guys are going to be able to show up. We gotta wanna. We gotta have a goal in mind. And we gotta be able to say, I will not accept defeat. If I get knocked down 7 times, I'm getting up 8, and I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep trying, I'm gonna keep pushing. I'm gonna keep believing God for whatever it is, my physical healing, my mind, will, and emotional healing, and in my spirit. Is there something that has happened to me in my spirit that has broken me? And then we grow together. We grow together. And then, when we look back on this time frame, 5 years from now, and we're all laughing and joking about, hey, remember when we were going through this or we were going through that? I couldn't do this and you couldn't do that. And now we look back on that time and we say, it's kind of funny how we thought that was impossible. But now we look back on it and say, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next for you? If you're watching this, what's next? You've got to make that decision and that choice for you. But we welcome you to join us. And here's how you do it. If you can't physically be here with us to hear the challenges every week, or to participate in the challenges every week, I'll post a challenge on the church Facebook page. Just look up New Beginnings Ministry. We're there. You'll find us. And just look for the challenge of the week. Some weeks it's going to be physical in nature. Other weeks it's going to be spiritual in nature. And other weeks it's going to be working on controlling my thought, will, and emotions. And then you grow, find somebody to do it with. This is not meant to be done, me, myself, and I. Find a battle buddy. Me, I've got 4. Well, actually, I've got 5. I've got Steve, and John, and James, and 2 Bryans. I've got 5. Get you some battle buddies, and let's train ourselves, physically, spiritually, and mentally. Because 6 months from now, I can tell you, you're not going to see this when I get up to preach. You're not going to see this. You're going to see a healthier version of me. And I'm determined to make that happen. With the help of my brothers, with the help of my wife, it's going to happen. Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen, John?
Hopefully.
Mandy, can you hear me? Is it going to happen? If she answers, let me know. Babe, is it going to happen?
Yeah.
Everybody watching on YouTube and Facebook, is it going to happen? Join us. The next challenge will be up by Tuesday. And then I'm going to be scheduling times to get together with the guys to do a weekly workout. We're going to figure out, me and the missus, what we're going to do for the ladies too, because they're in this with us. And some of them are capable of more than others are, but everybody can do something. going to get together and we're going to do these things. We're going to do these challenges. And I'm going to make the challenges doable for just about anyone. We're going to do it. And we're going to be better. We're going to grow physically, emotionally, spiritually. We will do it. Lord, we thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to come together and worship you. Lord, we ask that you give us wisdom to use our bodies, our souls, our thoughts, will, and emotions, and our spirits the way that you intend for us to use them. And Lord, give us strength where we fall short. Forgive us where we have wrong and negative ways of thinking, sinful ways of thinking, Lord. And Lord, help us to be what we call ourselves, followers of Christ. In Jesus' name we pray.